I bought a lake shack for $5. 10 years later, it was worth over $5 million. And that's exactly when my HOA decided they wanted it for themselves. They forged documents, filed a fake lien for $87,000, and tried to force the bank to foreclose on me. They thought I'd give up quietly. They didn't know I had something older and stronger than their fake authority, a deed from 1895 that would burn their entire scheme to the ground. My name's Lane Dunford, and I've learned that patience is a virtue right up until someone tries to steal your home. For most of my 59 years, I've been a fixer. Leaky pipes, rusty engines, broken fences. I can usually make things work again. My wife Jean says I've got glacier patience. Slow to start, but impossible to stop once I move. We bought that shack as a joke. $5 from an old-timer who just wanted it gone. 10 years later, it wasn't a shack, it was a cedar and glass dream stretching along the prettiest bend of Rain Cove Lake. We poured our savings, our sweat, and the last of my knees into it. It was ours. Peaceful. Ours. Until the day the gravel on my driveway crunched under the tires of evil in beige. I was down at the dock replacing a splintered board when I heard that self-important grind of tires. A white SUV spotless like it was allergic to dirt. Out steps Karen Lucas, president of the Rain Cove Homeowners Association, clipboard clutched like it was a royal decree. Lane Dunford, she called out, voice sharp enough to slice cedar. That's me, I said. She marched straight up and shoved a paper into my hand. Thick letterhead, gold crest. A title so ridiculous it made my eyebrows twitch. Mandatory Community Cohesion and Property Reacquisition Offer. I started reading out loud. Pursuant to Article 9, Section 4. Your property is eligible for mandatory buyback at original purchase price. I stopped. Looked up. Original purchase price. You mean the $5 I paid old Mr. Henderson? She smiled tight, smug. You have 72 hours to comply, or the HOA will take appropriate action. Jean stepped out on the porch, towel in hand, already sizing her up. Karen, she said sweetly, does this mandatory buyback come with a free unicorn, or do we have to order that separately? Karen's smile evaporated. This is a legal notice, Mrs. Dunford. Jean nodded. Oh, we'll take it very seriously. We might even laminate it. When Karen finally left, heels clicking like gunshots, I just stood there staring at that absurd paper. $5. They wanted our home for $5. My blood boiled, but Jean was calm. She always is. She pulled the HOA bylaws off her laptop, scanned through them faster than a lawyer on espresso, and grinned. There's no such thing as a mandatory buyback, she said. She made this up. My first instinct was to fight it head on, call a lawyer, file a complaint. But Jean had a better plan. Do nothing. Let her bluff die, she said. The best way to expose a liar is to let her keep talking. So we waited. 72 hours passed. No knock, no call. Just quiet water and that eerie calm before a storm. Then came the fines. First, unauthorized aquatic vessel color. Translation: my blue kayak wasn't community standard. Then overly joyful dock lighting. Then subversive mailbox design. Jean started a folder labeled The Book of Stupid. Each fine, each photo, each phony citation went in. At first it was funny, then it wasn't, because every week the fines doubled, and doubled again. 2 weeks later the phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. I picked up. Mr. Dunford, this is Mark from Lakeside Community Bank. I'm afraid there's been a lien placed on your property. My stomach dropped. A lien? Yes, sir. From the Rain Cove HOA. It's substantial, $87,000. For a second I couldn't breathe. That fake pile of fines had turned into a weapon. That's fraudulent, I said. Completely false. I hope so, Mark replied. But the lien's official. And because of it, you're in technical default. If it's not removed within 30 days, foreclosure proceedings will begin. 30 days. To save everything. I hung up and walked into the house numb. Jean looked up from her desk. The bank, I said quietly. She filed it. An $87,000 lien. They've frozen our credit line. Jean's face went pale, then hardened like steel. Then she's just signed her own death warrant. That night, neither of us slept. We sat at the oak table. I built myself papers, spread everywhere, the book of stupid open like a war map. My fixer brain wanted to solve it with reason, but reason doesn't work on people drunk on power. 2 nights later, a storm rolled in, wind screaming off the lake. Power flickered, then died. Total blackout. Buddy, our old dog, stood growling at the glass door. Then I heard it. A metallic scrape. Someone at the dock. I grabbed my flashlight and a tire iron. Jean whispered, "Don't go." But I couldn't just stand there while someone tore apart my home. I stepped into the storm rain, slashing my face, flashlight off, creeping down the path. 2 figures crouched by the dock, prying the cleats loose. One of them had a crowbar. "Get away from my dock," I yelled. They froze. The big one turned lightning flashing across his bald head. "This ain't your business," he growled. "It's my dock," I said. "Move." He lunged. I sidestepped, shoved, and he splashed into the freezing lake. His partner bolted. Jean had already called the sheriff, and minutes later red and blue lights flashed across the rain. The deputy called it trespassing, told me to install cameras. When they left, I stood there drenched, staring at the dark water. They weren't just bullies anymore. They were criminals. And Karen was pulling the strings. The next morning, Jean sat at her laptop, her voice steady but cold. "We're done reacting," she said. "We need to change the game." And somehow in that moment I felt tired. Bone-deep tired. Maybe I was crazy to think we could fight this. Maybe she was right that we didn't belong in this perfect beige world. I looked around our home, the wood we sanded, the walls we painted, the dock we built board by board. For a split second I thought about walking away, just letting it all go. Then I remembered something Mr. Henderson had said when we bought the place. "Don't let the HOA push you around about the water. Your boundary's special. There's an old iron pin near that oak tree. That's the real line." I stood up. "Jean, I think I know something." We spent 2 hours digging in the mud by that oak tree, rain still dripping from the night before. My back screamed, my hands blistered. And then, clink. A solid piece of iron, rusted, stamped, 1895. We rushed to the county records office. The clerk, a kind old lady, helped us dig through dusty books until Jean gasped. She found it the original deed. The language was beautiful. Property includes exclusive and perpetual riparian rights to the adjacent shore and waters predating and superseding any and all future covenants or community agreements. I nearly laughed. Our dock, our shoreline, completely beyond HOA control. Karen's entire crusade was built on air. That night we turned our fear into a plan. I installed cameras hidden in birdhouses, fake rocks, even dock posts. Jean prepped her drone with a 4K lens and thermal sensors. If they come again, she said, we'll see them before they see us. To bait the trap, I painted our mailbox neon pink, the ugliest shade imaginable. Jean made a sign, "Private dock, riparian rights, since 1895. Trespassers will be filmed." It was pure provocation, and it worked. 4 nights later, just before dawn, Jean nudged me awake. "They're here." On the monitor, a truck crept down our private lane with its headlights off, towing a small workboat. 2 figures climbed out, the same goons. They launched the boat and motored toward our dock. One uncoiled a thick steel cable, the other fired up a winch. "They're not vandalizing this time," I whispered. "They're stealing the whole damn dock." Jean sent the drone up silent, hovering high above the lake. I dialed 911. "This is Lane Dunford. Grand theft in progress at my home. 2 suspects on camera. Sending the live feed now." The towboat's winch groaned, cable tightening. Our dock shuddered, moaning under the strain. And then the drone dropped fast, its red lights blazing in the dark sky. It hovered 20 feet from the boat camera, blinking like a robotic eye. The big man froze, mouth open. The smaller one stared at it, eyes wide. Then they heard the sirens. 2, maybe 3 patrol cars screaming down the road. They tried to cut the cable, but it was too late. Deputies surrounded them, hands where we can see them. The men surrendered instantly. When the young deputy saw our monitor feed, he whistled. "That's one heck of a camera system, Mr. Dunford." We finally had proof. Not just words, video, timestamps, license plate, the works. And the truck registered to a contractor on the HOA's payroll. Karen was cornered. But I didn't want just revenge. I wanted exposure. So we sent certified letters to the entire HOA board demanding an emergency homeowners meeting. In it, we promised to present irrefutable evidence of criminal activity conducted under the HOA's name. The clubhouse that night was packed. Beige walls, beige carpet, beige tension. Karen sat at the front, pearls tight against her throat, fake confidence oozing from every pore. "We'll now address the unsubstantiated claims made by the Dunfords," she said, voice sugary and smug. I didn't say a word. I hit play. The video filled the projector screen, two men sneaking down the dock, the drone swooping in, the sheriff's lights flashing. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen's face didn't move an inch. Disturbing, she said, but irrelevant. Those men could be anyone. Jean stood up holding a stack of papers. "You're right, Karen. Let's talk about what is relevant." She clicked to another slide, scans of HOA proxy votes. "These are from the meeting where you approved that $87,000 lien. Funny thing, half of them are forgeries." The room exploded. "That's my signature," someone yelled. "I wasn't even in town." Another shouted, "I voted no." Karen jumped up. Lies, all of it. But she was cracking. I took the mic. "Forged votes to approve a fake lien. All for what? A blue kayak. A mailbox." I pointed to a man in the back, slick suit, silent till now, or maybe for him. "Mr. Sterling Development Group. He's been pushing for a luxury condo project that needs 5 shoreline lots. He's got 4. The 5th is ours." Every head turned. The crowd erupted again. Karen went white as paper. That was the moment her empire fell apart. But justice doesn't end in a clubhouse. A few weeks later, we stood in court. Karen sat across from us, stripped of her confidence, her expensive lawyer fumbling. Our old-school attorney Bill laid out everything: buyback letter, fines, video signatures, and finally the 1895 deed. The judge, a woman with silver hair and eyes sharp as glass, read the document slowly. Then she looked over her glasses. "Counselor," she said to Karen's lawyer, "are you suggesting that an HOA covenant from 1988 overrides a recorded deed from 1895? She leaned back. "Because if you are, I'd love to see the legal precedent for time travel." The courtroom chuckled. The lawyer sat down. Then came Karen's turn. She stood, voice shaking, and spat. "They broke the rules. Their doc was too joyful. They think they're better than everyone else." The judge folded her hands. "Ms. Lucas, you didn't build a community. You built a kingdom, and your reign is over." Her gavel came down. The lien void. Karen personally fined $10,000. The HOA fined $50,000 for mismanagement. The entire board removed. A court-appointed receiver would run Rain Cove until new elections. Karen didn't look at us as we passed her on the way out. She just stared at the wall, silent, hollow. And that's where I'll leave it. No celebrations, no champagne, just the quiet satisfaction of justice catching up. Because when power hides behind paperwork, when bullies wrap their greed in bylaws, sometimes all it takes is one stubborn person with proof and patience to bring the whole house of lies crashing down.